Almost.
CGC claps back at PSA. Mark Spears blind bag madness and Todd McFarlane original art tanking. We're going to talk about all of it on the Ungraded Truth coming up next. Detective Comics set a record for 1.8 million. Nobody really cares.
Who are annoyed that people are asking them questions, is this book bad? That question didn't exist a year ago.
Somebody's submitting like 25 vintage books and getting 15 9.9s.
We always think, how can it ever get crazier? And then it always does.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, or I should say, welcome for the very first time to the Ungraded Truth, the #1 show podcast in the entire universe. That is right. We have our established guests right here and returning people, but we're kind of coming in a new form. We're doing a new thing, a new format, and hopefully we make this a real show that we're going to be able to do weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. We haven't figured it out yet. I mean, we don't even know if we want to call it the Ungraded Truth. We don't even know if we like that theme song, but I thought it was kind of funny. I feel like it's one of those things that'll catch up, or like we'll start to get a little bit, catchy over time. But gentlemen, how are you guys doing today? Welcome to the show. Manu, Ryan, Rob.
All is well, guys.
Doing great.
Happy to be here.
I thought I was happy to see that I could give you at least like one video clip of me not in my basement. That's like the only one that exists out there. Yeah, I just live down here most of the time.
It's important to see you're outside of your elements. Okay. Yeah. We have to, at this point, nobody actually can confirm if you have legs. So this is a very important thing that everybody's wondering about. But gentlemen, again, I'll give the audience a little bit of context, and maybe you guys can kind of weigh in. We've always had streams on our respective channels and gotten into various topics over time. But I always have so much fun with them, and the viewers love them, and everybody who's watching, it always feels like we have a great show put together. And so I kind of thought that it would be kind of cool to do something a little bit more, or I should say we thought that it'd be cool to do something, a little more regular and kind of frame it under this idea of the Ungraded Truth, which, again, I don't know if it's a good name. We did a poll. It was the winner of the poll. So for now, we're going to run with it. But the idea of the show is to get into, weekly topics, hit up all the things going on in the collectible space. And I guess, maybe Manu, you can kind of weigh in on this, but like ungraded being, another word for raw. Or like we're going to get into like a real take here, and just give people the real authentic thoughts, which is not like we don't give authentic thoughts all the time, but hey, it's the name of the show.
We're always shilling, otherwise.
We're always shilling or concerned about losing the sponsorship. Like we don't want Swag to lose his Walmart sponsorship, right? So we got to
listen.
Be careful here.
Corporate Swag now is my new persona. Okay, I am Mr. Walmart, and we're going to talk about that later on. But I think it'd be kind of fun to just go off the cuff. Obviously, Neo is always going off the cuff.
Always. I'm still recovering from New York, I think.
Donnie Boy McCoy, the real McCoy collector. What up, my man? Sorry. Hello, guys. Hi. So, Swag, kick us off.
So, all right. Well, first topic of the show. I mean, we have on the thumbnail, talking about blind bags and New York Comic Con and Todd McFarlane Batman original art, cover for the issue 423 that went on sale. And we're going to get into all those topics. But, as we were prepping the show, we also have Baltimore Comic Con, and an interesting video came out of CGC that they made a post for that I kind of wanted to just play you guys. I'm not going to play the audio because it does have like a song on it that will get copyright stricken for. But let's kind of watch this video that they made at Baltimore Comic Con, kind of clapping back at PSA. Take a look at this, guys.
Yeah, so I like the instant I saw this, I immediately sent it to the group chat because it was just, I was like, oh man, I'm like, CGC's throwing hands. They're recognizing PSA as a potential threat there. I thought it was great. It got the same grade, but I thought that this was a pretty clever little video they put out.
I'm so offended that Automatic Comics has a like on that post, but Ryan Real doesn't. I'm actually quite offended by this. I see a little thing there.
Let's take a look. So yeah,
I'm the That's right.
Yeah, I see it.
I'm the CGC shill, right? Like that's
yes, you are.
you should be
We
expected.
know. I know what's happening.
100%.
Alex,
Well,
what up?
CGC
RMS, what up?
CGC cracking out the PSA AF15. You can see the 1.0 label going in the garbage right there.
That's gonna be Ryan's new YouTube logo.
Yeah, and then them having some kind of statement at the end saying, you know, why not go with the best or whatever it is that they said at their tag and stuff. And you know, I think there's a saying out there that says winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners. And I think it's interesting.
I
So
like that.
CGC has never, ever made a video like that
about
regarding CBCS.
Exactly.
100%. So
Exactly.
I guess, Manu, what do you think about this? What do you think about them kind of clapping back here at PSA? Are they looking over their shoulder?
Oh, 100%. Listen, I love what you said, and you could kind of just mic drop there. But yeah, you know, listen, it was kind of okay. First of all, you're 100% right. If they didn't feel threatened, they wouldn't have taken the shot to begin with. Just like you said, they've never tried anything like this with CBCS because there's really no reason to. You're kind of punching down. Right? PSA is actually offering some sort of threat here. They are thinking about it. If we think about it, listen, this is not even an exaggeration. They've copied a lot of the things that PSA has done. PSA's been here, 3 months? CGC's been branding, 30 years? Right? And PSA enters the market and they start to change what CGC's doing because of what PSA is doing. The census is now called a population report. We have, when CGC partnered up with JSA, they did have signature grading or autograph grading on top of the authentication, but that used to be this sort of insignificant thing on the back of the slab. They didn't actually highlight it, or they didn't even treat it like it was that important. Well, PSA is known for authenticating signatures, and it's always been right there on the front of their slab. And when they introduced that same thing into comic books, they proudly out the gate put that grade on the front of the comic book. And then a day later, what did CGC announce? Oh, well, they're going to now move that grade to the front of their label as well. So they're really competing because it's real competition. And this thing here, CGC didn't just come out of nowhere with this. We know a couple of weeks ago, there was a slab smashing video that kind of went crazy, and PSA kind of ran with that one as well. So this is them shooting back. But also, I will kind of say, not about who started it, but the first AF15 to get cracked and crossed over was actually a CGC into a PSA slab. I'm the one that took that AF15 to PSA. And we did crack it out and we put it in the CGC slab. So it's like, we're punching back, so on and so forth. And shout out to Jose, that's whose AF15 that was. So we kind of started it. I say we because I took that book there. And I actually I kind of like that they did this because we're fighting now. Like, it's for real now.
Was that a 0.5? Is that what that one was?
Yeah, the original. Yes.
I had thought that, and I couldn't tell for sure. I was trying to do a comparison on it, but there was that, the 9.6 restored that sold on Golden. I thought that was maybe the 9.8 CGC restored copy. For some reason, I thought that might be the same book that got crossed over too. So I was wondering if maybe that one was a crossed over book as well.
I don't know too much. This 1.0, I actually know about this 1.0. So I'll add some more flavor to this story as well. But in terms of that 9.6 restored, I actually am not privy to the origin of that copy. I do not believe that was a crossed over 9.8, but I don't have enough information on that one to speak on it. But I don't think that's the case with that one, to be honest. Okay. My gut tells me.
Yeah, because I was trying to do just comparisons with pictures. What I remember when I first saw it pop up, because I was just like, even though it's restored, you're not going to see a super high grade restored AF15 all that often. And so I started kind of checking through some of the ones that were CGCs. But yeah, I feel like there's been, I was surprised to see one already get crossed back over to CGC though, just because, it just got graded. It seems like a lot of money to spend.
Let me tell you what happened, because I know what happened there. The only thing that people know is this reel that's circulating today. And really quickly, guys, is my internet buffering? Am I fine? Am I good to talk?
No, you're fine.
Now? Okay, cool. So now I normally would keep this private, but I did speak to the owner of that AF15 earlier today as well, just to say, hey, listen, I'm not going to turn this into a gossip thing with you. You provided some information to me yesterday in confidence, but is it okay if I talk about it? He said, yeah, man, of course. So the owner of that book is actually Ali, the owner of Elite 11, the consignment page on CGC. Shout out to Ali, shout out to Elite. And so the funny thing is, my knowledge of that book actually started, I woke up a little late, so I saw the message a few hours late, but Ali had texted me a picture of a 1.0 AF15. and very happy. He was like, Manu, you're going to be so proud of me. I got my first PSA slab. It's an AF-15. It's only a 1.0, but it's awesome, right? Oh, people say only a 1.0, but any AF-15 is awesome. And then I said, dude, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's so cool. And then a follow-up message came and it said, you're going to hate me. And I was like, what? And then a picture of it in a CGC slab showed up. I said, that's the quickest emotional roller coaster I've ever been on. I said, what the heck happened? And then we ended up on the phone. We were talking about some other things. And he gave me some context. He said, well, it was offered to me. I picked it up. And it happened to be in Baltimore. A friend of mine picked it up, Kyle's Comics. The person in the video, that was the person sort of facilitating this for Ali, if you will, right? Another good guy in the community, right? And so he was in Baltimore. CGC is doing on-site grading. Ali looked at the grader's notes for PSA, and shout out the grader's notes. Very robust, a lot of grader's notes. Sorry, I don't have the cert number handy. I'm sure we could get that from Ali. But anyway, he noticed on the grader's notes that there was some glue on it, right? And it wasn't attaching anything. It was like maybe a while ago it was attaching something, but now it's just remnants of glue on it. And he was like, if anyone looks at these grader's notes, are they going to assume that that's supposed to be a restored copy? Dang, maybe I should play this real safe and get a second opinion. Let's see what CGC thinks about it. And since the on-site grading was available right there, yeah, it cost a pretty penny, but he also got a really good deal on the book just because, you know, dealers to dealer type of situation. Well, I guess, yeah, you know, that kind of thing, right? And so in any case, he decides to cross it over. And it happened sort of in real time. And wouldn't you know it, it's a universal. Even CGC agreed that that blue is not indicative of restoration because it's no longer restoring anything. It just happens to be there. And Ryan, maybe you can speak to this. That's normal, right? Like if there's glue or something left over, but it's actually not holding it together, it's no longer a restoration, right?
Yeah, you typically only, and I won't say only, you usually see that in Golden Age books. Silver Age, it's less common that you get those like notes where it's like minor amount of glue or whatever like that. But I had a Gym 83 that had that note on it. So, I mean, it can absolutely happen with Silver Age books. And I've seen an X-Men one that had it. But I feel like they're less, maybe they're more likely to give it to like be generous with like a real big book, but you generally will see it much more often in the Golden Age where if it's like, it's just dried, it's not doing anything. They'll just, they'll say it's fine. But it absolutely, like every time someone posts a book like that, you always have someone in the comments where they're like, oh, they missed the color touch or they missed the glue. It's like inevitable. You're gonna have someone make that comment.
And that's exactly what sort of foresight Ali had. He was like, man, am I going to run into this when I go to sell this book? Let me go ahead and get this second opinion. Now, he didn't know that CGC was going to be opportunistic about it, right? And so this morning I wake up bombarded to messages with this video, right? And I get on the phone with Ali again, and I said, Ali, just yesterday we had a conversation about how well PSA slabs are selling for you, how you want to have more PSAs on your page, you want to do a PSA sale, and we're going to come together and do all of those things because PSA does sell well. I said, what the heck is this? He said, bro, I didn't know that they were going to do that. I said, there's literally them crumbling up the label, throwing it in the trash. Like, what the heck? He said, dude, I didn't know.
That's the funniest part of that video. They're like, we got to film this.
Listen,
I want to see the video. I want to see the video of them trying to crack the slab.
That's
well,
yeah,
because that's what I was interested in, because all they showed was like popping it open. But I'm like, how much work did it take to get there? Or do they have maybe some special tool or something that they use for that?
Do you guys notice? Do you guys notice in their tapes? You know, it goes from 1 minute of recording the slab opening, and then it jumps forward to like an hour later.
Could be.
What, are you? Oh,
Does he go way over? Does he go way over? Does he go way over? All right. We're not. I'm going to table that one.
Bring out the files. Bring out the files. I know.
Yeah, Manu know what I was talking about. Well, but Rob, what do you think about like the PSA kind of making this whole video and just, you know, clapping them back a little bit to or CGC making this video and clapping a little bit back to PSA? I mean, I feel like, you know, PSA has been getting all the licks in recently, you know, and this is kind of interesting to see them, you know, counterpunch a bit.
I mean, I've been telling you guys about the grading wars forever and how much fun it was going to be once it eventually got here, and now we are finally here. You guys have never really had this before because CBCS was not really any legitimate competition. And I liked your point at the top, Swag, about have they ever done anything like this to CBCS at all, like intentionally like that? I don't think so. So
not that I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, only CBCS ever did the banana.
Yeah, they did the banana thing back, but that makes sense. You want to, you know, the way that I've always heard is, you want to punch up, not punch down.
100%.
Yeah.
And it feels like they're punching down because as much as we want PSA to succeed for the competition standpoint, like they still have a long way to go. Like I don't think any of us are naive enough to think that PSA doesn't have a ton of work to do.
The other side of it, though, is that PSA is, at least I'm almost certain, is a bigger company than CGC. So, like it's punching down in comics, but it's also recognizing that that company has a ton behind it. And they clearly are trying to, they're actually making an effort on it. Whereas like, I think we all know with like CBCS and Beckett and everything, you feel like they fumble the ball every time. Like they just don't care. And they seem like, I talked about like their Instagram page, like where it was like a month between posts. Like, what is that? Like, how can you have, like, how can you be someone who's out there like grading collectibles in this market and be posting once a month? CGC is posting multiple times a day. PSA is posting at minimum once a day on their comic stuff, and on cards like many times a day. And so like it seems like they don't care, so why should we? But PSA definitely seems to care.
Yeah,
I definitely think
100%.
Maybe I missed it, but was CBCS, where was their booth at Comic-Con?
Right next to PSA.
CBCS.
Oh, CBCS. Sorry.
I honestly,
Bobby, what up?
Did they have it? I assume they had a booth somewhere, right?
I'll say this. I honestly, jokes aside, I do not think that they were even there, because last year at New York Comic Con, they were there, and like they had a booth set up right next to, right next to Artist Alley. They basically had a booth, and that was kind of where they were like doing verification for signatures, and that sort of makes sense. But this year, I didn't see them in that same spot. They could have been there, but I don't know. I missed them. But it was very interesting. You know, New York Comic Con, we'll get into it in a second. We're going to do a little bit of a recap, but I got to have a conversation with both representatives from PSA on the Walmart live stream, but I also got to talk to Matt Nelson and Sean Caffrey on the Walmart live stream as well. And I did an interview with them, and it was really interesting because, you know, it was pretty basic. Like we weren't going to get into like any sort of nitty gritty, any sort of like details. A lot of the conversation was more of an introduction of like, what is grading? What do you guys do as your company? But the one thing that I'll say that Matt and Sean made an emphasis of that I thought was really interesting, because I just had never heard them say this before, is they basically said that they feel like it's their job to teach the community like about grading. And to me, that basically is like them saying, well, we want to teach the community about grading, which is our grading standard, of course, because like they wrote the grading book. And I wonder if that's like them kind of thinking that like if they can sort of go on this crusade with like we are the number one, we're the ones that define grading. You know, we have the grading guide. Like any other company that tries to establish grading is just like it's a fake company compared to us. Like I wonder if that's kind of what they are sort of that's kind of their position of how they want to approach this with PSA coming into it. Because like if they can be what effectively, you know, the brand of Overstreet always was, then it doesn't matter what other companies are doing, because like if they're the people that if they still have that trust with the community for their grading standard. But I don't know, it was one thing that they said in the interview, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it was just an interesting thing that they made that a point of emphasis when I had that conversation with them.
I mean, when I think of CGC grading though, like when I think of somebody asking about a grade on a book, I am always defaulting that they're asking about how is CGC going to grade that book. I mean, I think that's like, it's not Overstreet anymore. There are some people that will want to reference Overstreet, but it really isn't. Like it is CGC. And now granted, with the PSA books that I've looked at, I feel like and I feel the same way about CBCS. I feel like they grade very, very similar. I haven't seen enough PSA to really have like any of those judgments on edge cases. Like CBCS definitely grades easier on the low end than CGC does. I don't know about PSA at this point. The high end, you know, like the stuff that's, to me, that's the most interesting, even though I don't really like care about it personally, is the 9.8, 9, 10 stuff, because like it's definitely, I think, going to be a really interesting thing to start seeing what some of those 10.0 or 10 PSA books are selling for. We've seen one. I talked about in a recent video. We saw that Spider-Man 2099 #1 and it went way low compared to what a CGC would have gone for, in my opinion. And so we've got that, what is it? The Killing Joke, Jeff Golden Age Guru's book that's coming up in the Heritage auction in like November. That's a 10. And so it'll be interesting to see what that one goes at. And then I saw like PSA posted that they had a, what was it? That What If number 10, the first Jane Foster as Thor. They had that one. That's the only. CGC doesn't even have a 9.9, and now they've got a 10. Like, to me, that's one of the other really like interesting things that I haven't seen anything about the population report yet. I thought we were getting something at New York Comic Con, and we haven't gotten that yet. And I think that's going to really hurt PSA 10 books until that's out there, because you just, without knowing what the numbers are on those, I think it's going to be a real challenge for somebody to be willing to put up the money for some of those books, like of what they command on the CGC side.
Ryan,
I think we're going to see that pop report probably in the next month or two.
Good. That's good to know. Ryan, I'm going to jump in and I want to talk about this Killing Joke. This is something that I was reluctant to talk about publicly, but that's kind of the point here. And I want other people to think about what I'm going to say as well. But really quickly before that, 10 seconds. First, I want to say happy birthday to Lawrence, Mighty Comics and Collectibles. This is his birthday. So happy birthday to our guy.
Hey,
hope he's doing well.
Happy birthday.
And other than that, really quickly, Janelle, I'm going to talk about two of these things you've said in all caps. I could tell you're passionate about them, but it sounds like you're operating off of what other people have said and some assumptions. I know a lot about that Superman book. I could provide some info there. And I know a lot about the Mark Wilson stuff. So we could talk more about that as well. But provide some facts or some evidence, and then it'd be worth us picking up on it, because we've heard that stuff before already. Now, moving on to this Killing Joke, right? But Janelle, thank you for being here, and I appreciate it. Here's what I want to say about that Killing Joke. And this is kind of, and Ryan, I really want to get your opinion on this. So as we know, CGC has like, and pardon me if I'm one or two numbers away from the accurate numbers, it doesn't matter. The point is still conveyed. There's like a $30,000 sale for a PSA 10, or like a high 20s, $28,000 sale for a PSA 10. And there are like 14, CGC 10.
Yeah, I was going to say CGC.
CGC 10. And there are 14 CGC 10s on the census, right?
Now I will say that you can't really trust that sale too much. Because there was a Comic Link sale that is not public that went for like $5,000 or something. Beautiful. Like right after that. And
Beautiful.
So like I remember seeing that one and I was like, oh man, they are not. I thought about putting it up on Go Collect as like I don't know if I ever did. I don't think I did. Just because, man, I feel like the person who paid like 20 whatever thousand is just like, holy crap, they don't want that number out there.
And I'm so happy that you're aware of that. I'm so happy that I'm talking to you about that, because that's exactly the point that I'm getting at now. Now, that comp does exist of close to $30,000, right? But at the same time, all of the sales prior to that are the $6,000, $7,000 range for that book. And you know of a sale at the $5,000 range. My thing is, even if a CGC 10 were to come to market today, it's not going to do 30K. So the PSA book that's now going to be on Heritage as the PSA 10 is going to be, in my opinion, unfairly compared to a $30,000 sale that I would argue, I'd bet money that a CGC 10 could come to market and it's not going to perform the same way that one Anomaly sale did. That's kind of a poor placement for that book.
It's going to be, they're in a lose-lose situation, I think.
Yeah. Wait, can I just say something? Does anyone actually think that the PSA 10 should sell for the same amount that the CGC 10 should sell for? I feel like it's like this. No. Oh, is it going to get the same number as the CGC 10? Like, and everyone in the community is having this conversation.
You mean
and
generally,
I feel
or
like
this
it's
book?
In general,
I mean,
in
general, I think
they're going to be more common than the CGC 10. I think anyone that has half a brain realizes that.
Well, but once you have the census is when you really learn, though, because like
you could tell already.
For all we know, you could end up with, like, if somebody pays, even if they pay $8,000 or something like that for it, you could maybe have 50 of them on census by this time next year. You have no idea. like it is and I know some people are willing to play that game and gamble on that, but man, I would not gamble on that.
I mean, but that's an important part of it for sure. Like, what the census and how it actually like shakes out. But like, I'm just saying, like, you know what's happening. And again, people are going to be like, oh, Swag is just trying to defend PSA here. But like, that it's not going to sell for the same that the CGC 10 sold for, even if it was like extremely rare and it was like not as many copies or as equal number of copies on the census to that of CGC or whatever, because PSA is a new company. Like, why would it sell for that? Like, I just think like anyone who thinks that it's going to get that number is being foolish.
And there's also,
Or maybe,
and there's
I don't know.
no, you have a good point. But there's also
see, that's what I would.
layer.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I think you'll carry this point as well. I think there's another layer to recognize here is the PSA 10. There's no 9.9, right? So if the book is way, way nicer than a 9.8, it's going to be considered for a PSA 10. Another way to say that is if you have a 9.8 that's borderline 9.6, it's kind of a shitty looking 9.8. We've all experienced that from all grading companies. So why should an almost perfect looking book be encapsulated in the same thing that an almost fucking 9.6 is encapsulated in? So carry on.
You set me up of the reason here, which is, PSA doesn't have a 9.9. So I had heard it stated pretty well that like, kind of like in cards, and Neo, maybe you can run with this. It's like, the Beckett Black Label 10, like, is sort of like the CGC 10, and then a PSA 10 is kind of like the 9.9 equivalent here, because like basically since PSA doesn't have a 9.9 for the comic side, right, then you're basically gonna have any book that is called the 10.0 could effectively be that CGC 9.9 as well, in theory, if they're grading the same. And so right, therefore, like, it's more likely that if the PSA 10 sells at premiums, we should be comparing them to CGC 9.9s. And that. A CGC 10 should be sort of its own category. At least that just seems like logical to me of like how this might actually play out.
That is
I feel like in the long run, how it's going to break down is the CGC 10 will be like the Beckett Black Label.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
And then I do think a PSA 10 will outsell a CGC 9.9 once they're established. Then it'll go 9.9, and maybe it's close.
Maybe I'm not sure on that.
I don't know,
because like I think that's where once you start doing, people will probably start doing census comparisons. And you're going to look at how rare that 9.9 on the CGC side is versus the 10. Because like the stuff that has just jumped out to me the most is just that PSA has only been around for a few months, and you are seeing books that are getting graded as 10s or 9.9, whatever you want to call it, that don't even exist as a 9.9 on the CGC side, where they've seen thousands and thousands of copies.
But does
and now
that mean that
we know CGC was just throwing 9.8s at a lot of stuff that probably should have had 9.9s. We know that absolutely is what was going on. But you still just wonder. It feels weird from the perspective of probably the people that are out there buying those 9.9s, the ones that, I mean, I know that's a very small percentage of the collector community, but I'm guessing they're looking at that.
Don't underestimate the power of 10 is bigger than 9.9.
Right. And still only 35 cents here. It says guarantee cross grading a PSA 10 would get a 9.8 to CGC. I guarantee if you crack out a 9.9 CGC and send it back to CGC, you're going to get a 9.8.
Probably.
So like that, okay.
But that's the problem with 9.9s and 10s in general. Like that's always the complaint. It's like if you, and I get it that I don't really expect books to necessarily get the exact same grade every time they go in. I don't have that expectation. I know that really like gets people riled up. They think it should always get the same grade. But the problem with 9.9s and 10s when they could come back as a 9.8 when nothing has changed is the premium that gets paid for them. I mean, when you have like a 5 versus a 5.5, and it's like, oh, maybe it's a couple $100 different. But if you have a 9.9 versus a 9.8 and it's $20,000 difference in price or $10,000 difference, you should be confident that every time you send that book in, you're going to get a 9.9.
Yeah.
But we all know that you can't be.
Oh, I know. Well, and that's why I can't touch those books. Like I personally cannot make myself touch those books.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I first had Matt Nelson on the channel and we had a conversation about it, I think I made the joke after where it was just basically like, I mean, I'm not somebody who like plays in sort of the 9.9, 10.0 space, but to me, I was like, guys, we got to hit the eject button. If you're somebody who wants this stuff, I mean, I just don't see it. Like I just get a 9.6. It's basically the same thing.
I assume you pressed him on the 9.9, 10.0 thing on the Walmart interview.
Well, 100%. I pulled no punches.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, maybe is a good little setup because it was New York Comic Con, and we can keep going on the CGC and the PSA 9.9 stuff. In fact, we are going to keep going on it. But Rob and I were at New York. your boy is coming up in the world, okay? Because I was on Walmart live stream, just the good old corporate host for Walmart here. I got to talk to Manu and Mayunk, who is the GM of collectibles at Walmart,
No, that's Gene.
and talk to them
Gene
about.
You spoke to. That's Gene, not Manu. Gene.
Sorry, this is Gene right here, but this is Mayunk.
Oh, I thought you said Manu. I'm so sorry. Carry on. My bad.
Manu always thinks everything's about him.
Yeah. When you play this back, you'll hear Manu too. Watch. He said Manu. Anyway, carry on.
Oh, my bad. And then I was with Naidukin right here. By the way, that's a $500,000 one-of-one sealed graded WADA Pokemon right there. I was with Mighty. Shout out to Mighty. It was his birthday, but a bunch of cool stuff going on. It's the Walmart and New York Comic Con. It was a good time. We had a lot of interesting conversations. I got to talk to Matt and Sean, like I already said, and Rob, you were there as well, hanging out with Matt Mercer, doing your thing. But overall, how was New York Comic Con? What was your overall takeaway from that event?
Was there any comic books at Comic Con? Did it feel like
no idea.
Not a lot of comic book vendors at New York Comic Con? I've been there 4 years in a row, and this felt like the least amount of comic book vendors I have seen at that show.
So I was watching Pop Comics because he was doing a video of like walking around buying stuff, and he also said it felt like there were less. Now when he was walking around, he saw that there were also comics that were like randomly dispersed, like dealers in places that he wouldn't have expected them to be. So maybe that's what happened. Like they just didn't organize it as well. But from his video, I did get the impression that there were less this year.
I think that's interesting you said that, because that's what I felt anecdotally as well, because I went to New York Comic Con last year and it felt like there were way more comic book vendors. And one thing I definitely have started to notice, and I'd say that this is like also true of when I go to San Diego Comic Con, and maybe true of the last couple of years, but I also not only feel like there's less comic book vendors, but they're starting to put like the modern comic book dealers like mixed into the like golden and silver age pavilion area. So like it used to be that you'd have like Reese's Comics next to, Bob High Grade Comics next to Dale Roberts. And you have all these like national vintage dealers who are just like all in this area. But now it's like you got old school vintage dealers mixed with like KRS Comics and all these like modern retail variant, people. And then not only that, you sort of feel this like cross-pollination where I look at like vintage dealer booths and I see them selling Mark Spears blind bags, or I see them carrying like Absolute Batman and having like variants on the wall. And I just think it's very interesting. And I don't know if that means that like vintage just doesn't work at the Comic-Con floor anymore, but it's, and I feel like you can never actually get a unbiased take from a lot of vintage dealers who work at these shows, because I feel like they'll just always tell you, oh, it was a great show. And yeah, I sold tons of books to like the customers I've had for like 15 years. But it's like, are you getting actual like organic purchases and new people coming in? Like maybe a little bit, but I don't know. It's very interesting.
With how much a table costs, though, I'm surprised that like lower dollar, like modern stuff can cover your expenses. Like I would think you would almost need to. I'm not a dealer there or anything like that, but I've heard those tables are like what, like 10 grand or something like that. I mean, like I feel like you've got to sell at least like something bigger to really cover that. Because if you're just selling a bunch of $10 blind bags, I mean, you got to sell 1,000 of those just to break even, and that's I mean you're not making profit.
It is pretty crazy in there. I could see how they could grind out a profitable weekend just with low dollar stuff, because the show floor is insanely busy. I mean, I don't know what San Diego looks like. I've never been there, but how does the chaos of the show floor compare between the two?
Yeah, I see Eggplant's comment. I know those exclusives aren't cheap. They're like $50 or $70 a lot of times. So I mean, I get it, but still, like it's a lot you have to sell just to cover your cost. I don't know. It's just my thought.
My feeling is that no doubt they can make a lot of money. In fact, I know that the dealers make a lot of money. I mean, they definitely clear 30, 40, 100K, like depending on what type of show that they have or what type of books they have for sale. But at the same time, I guess what I'm saying is they've had to diversify a lot more. Like you don't know what people are going to want at a particular show. So a lot of dealers are like, sure, I'll have Golden Age and Silver Age high grade stuff, but at the same time, I might also just want to have a couple modern variants here as well. And so they just like have, a whole, table full of whatever to make their margins.
It was funny during my vlog. I just happened to be walking and recording for like 10 minutes straight. And I was in the middle of it. I'm like, we haven't passed the table that actually sells comic books yet. And then I was like, let's try to find one. And then it took like another 3 to 4 minutes of walking to try to actually find a vendor that was selling comic books. And I think the first one we found, of course, was someone selling like the half naked, actually the fully nude,
oh my God,
variant covers or whatever that were everywhere.
Oh God.
I think I've seen more of those than like actual CGC slab books.
We got to double click on that because, dude, it is prolific at this point. Like we've made videos all joking about these types of covers, but like you go to like New York Comic Con, it's like not safe for work anymore. Like
oh man,
every single booth has
between
like
the
the artist with
and
the
the
banner. Yeah, it's wild.
I don't know if nudity's like a shocker anymore. Like just culturally, I just don't think it is like a thing. And like no one gives a shit, bro. It's like.
I bet you some parents do that are bringing their like 8-year-olds.
Probably. Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of little kids that went to Comic-Con this past weekend and were like going to school on Monday being like, guys, you should have seen what I saw this
We're
weekend.
going to Comic-Con next year.
Yeah.
That's how you get the new crowd, the young crowd into it.
Oh, there you go. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be. Wait, yeah.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild how many there are that. But like again, these things sell, and we're going to talk about blind bags later on and how they sell.
Can I just because I don't have anything to say about New York Comic Con. I wasn't there, and I loved living it through you guys. Like it was amazing. I hope to go. But Alex is with us in the chat. Alex Gonzalez. His name is Algons NJ on Instagram. Great collector, good friend. And he goes every year, and he said a lot of the same things that you're saying. Like year after year, there's less comic dealers. The prices are going up. Tastes are changing. But I just wanted to give him a shout out and say thank you real quick because he was there. And apparently you had to do something at some booth to get one of these. But this is the Magic the Gathering AF-15 card as a comic book. And here's the card. And he's surprised. I had no idea. He got it for me and it showed up in the mail the other day. So thank you, my man. I love these. These are freaking awesome. So that's my NYCC bit.
By the way, the original art of that is up for sale right now on Magic Art Market on Facebook.
Auction.
But it's not.
Is that the one where they're just taking offers, right?
Yes. Yeah. Just taking offers on that one. So hard to know. They won't disclose, but if you message the person blind offer. If you message the person who does it, I think it closes on tomorrow is like the last time they'll hear offers, but they'll tell you the vicinity. Like they'll say like, hey, where are we at? And they'll kind of give you a number. I would be curious to know what it went for.
I want to tell you something because I don't talk to as many people. Like you are the person that I talk to that is familiar with Magic the Gathering artists and the history of it and some of the sales for original art, and you've picked up some pieces. And then I talk to a lot of people in the Marvel card space that have been picking up this Magic the Gathering art, some beautiful pieces. I know where they exist now, but there's this interesting conversation happening in some of these chats that I'm in where the Marvel card guys are paying great prices, private offers higher than what the Magic the Gathering guys would anticipate any of these pieces going for, because they're correlating them to their Marvel masterpieces, Spider-Man art, Venom art, this kind of thing. These are unexpected prices being paid because an entirely new community has their own perception or perspective and take on it, and they're making offers bigger than what the artists were anticipating to begin with.
Funny you said that because I was going to bring up Magic the Gathering later on in the show because I wanted to talk about that, but we can kind of dive into that and tail it back around. But it is interesting because, shout out to, I know Neo watches Rudy and Alpha Investments, but he was even talking about how like a lot of the individual art cards were selling kind of high. And his speculation was, oh yeah, maybe it's just people that are into comic books or, like Manu said, like the Marvel trading card people that are kind of jumping into this. And I actually made mention about how I wondered if that could be a thing, that if the Marvel card guys would actually jump into Magic and if this would actually increase the demand for this thing. And maybe it's hard to say, but I'm happy to hear that you feel like that's actually happening.
Oh, 100%. I know some of the guys that paid more than they anticipated to. It's not doing squat for the cards, but it's doing a lot for the art because they think they're investing in what they've seen happen with Marvel Masterpieces cards. But if the cards don't go on to live in the hearts of the card collectors, well, then the art pieces over time will be less desired and less special as well. So we'll have to see how they build that market out over time or create hype for something when no one maybe collects the cards as enthusiastically. But I personally love the cards. I've loved the experience, love the set. I think it's an amazing set. I,
for one, just want to see when they start selling the original art for the SpongeBob SquarePants set, because that's where all the money is, apparently.
Let me tee you up as the official SpongeBob trading card influencer on the panel in a second. But there was this sale that happened on Monday for the Cosmic Foil Soulstone card, which, if you guys don't know, this is the chase card out of the set. And I think it's interesting because they're clearly going to be doing all 6 stones at some point. I think later on, they have a contract with Marvel for like the next 3 years. So next summer, we're getting, I think it's like an Avengers set. It's called like Superheroes, but it's basically going to be like the Avengers characters. We just got Spider-Man. And you have to imagine that they're going to put in a couple more of the Infinity Stones in it. And, this particular card.
I don't think that's been out there.
What's that?
I said, are you breaking news right now? Because I don't think that's ever been talked about.
No, it's out there. It's out there.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm breaking my NDA. But anyways, 31,750 on
We'll edit
Monday.
that out and post it.
On the live stream. We'll edit it out and post.
Abort, end stream.
Well, guys, the podcast had a good run.
Yeah.
Hey, it is our job to try to get us canceled as quickly as possible on this podcast. That's what this podcast is about. All right.
Listen, I am a good corporate boy. Okay, I pay attention to my conglomerate overlords, and I will shill like a good Swagglehaus that I am. But 31,750 for the Soulstone right there, and I thought that was a pretty crazy sale. And there's been a lot of conversation about how like going to tell my kids that this is Magic the Gathering. If you guys don't know, if you're not following like Magic, what they basically do is Magic has its own universe. It's kind of like a Lord of the Rings, Tolkien sort of universe. But they do all the collabs.
I just Googled it.
What's that?
Marvel Superheroes has been announced for 2026.
Woo! Thank goodness.
We're assembling Earth's mightiest heroes and beyond for Magic the Gathering Marvel Superheroes.
Yes. And all I will say is that they have a contract with them for, I think, 3 years. So you could just guess what other Marvel things are going to come at some point later on. But going to tell my kids it's Magic, and a lot of collaborations. They're doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles now, so it's very interesting. All the Magic cards and the art that gets on sale, and then of course we got trading card craziness with Pokemon right now. Which, if you guys don't know, Ryan is an official. Not Pokemon, SpongeBob SquarePants trading card influencer.
That's what I'm transitioning to, a SpongeBob SquarePants channel. It apparently that is where all the views come from. So.
This shit has 908 likes on it, bro. What the fuck?
It's my first first post to ever break 50,000 views.
Look at this.
What the
hell, the number one post on Ryan's Instagram is about SpongeBob trading cards.
Wow.
That's our joke, is we're like, comics is the worst thing to get into. We should have gotten into anything else, because clearly, like, it's just a random SpongeBob post.
I don't want to derail. I want to ask you a technical question based directly on this post. 50,000 views. This thing's spread well beyond the reach of the comic community. Obviously, did you see conversion? Did you see followers as a result of those views, or were they passerbys because they were from a different realm?
I think I added like maybe 50 or 60. Similar with the Batman 423 post that's right next to it. Like those two posts, for whatever reason, and I think it was largely because I was probably one of the first people that posted about both those things, and it just ended up helping it catch on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the SpongeBob thing, the reason I ended up posting about it, because I was just on some Reddit page and I saw somebody posted a picture of one of these 1-of-1 Superfractor cards, and they're like, oh, what do I have here? And somebody in the comments is like, oh, that's worth at least $1,000. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, well, how is this worth at least $1,000? And so I started looking stuff up on eBay, and I was like, good God, because like there's one card, there's a triple signature card that sold for 21 grand. Like, I mean, just some crazy numbers. Now, granted, everybody in the comments, they're always saying, they're like, it's all like people buying their own stuff so they can get a price out there so they can resell it at a higher price, and it's all shill bidding and blah, all that. Like, but it's like, the way I look at that, I'm just like, is everything fake though? Like there's tons of cards that are sold. Like, can all of them be fake sales? I mean, maybe. I guess maybe, but
don't worry, you have a chance to get in on the ground floor. Topps Chrome Labubu comes out this time.
I know. Yeah, that's like $1 billion right there.
I'm in.
You know what's so wait, but by the way, you know what's so funny about that? There was a Labubu. There was V-Friends at New York Comic Con, but there was also a Labubu cover, and that didn't do anything. What is it going to take for comic books to actually sell, boys?
Well, I mean, Labubu's they're pretty much done now, right? Like, didn't the owner lost like $5 billion in a month or something? And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like it was the hot thing for the summer, and it's going the way of Pops, but we'll see.
100%.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Just to bring up. Oh, go ahead, Mina.
Oh no, I just didn't know that Labubus were even creepy looking until I saw previews of the cards, and they're like demented looking little creatures. I didn't know that until I saw the cards, because I never looked at a Labubu before. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. No, but I was just going to bring a point of emphasis. If you guys saw, like, Ryan, you were kind of talking about this, but it's just funny to me that these are like 15 grand, 10 grand, 10 grand, but it's actually sold for 5, 13, and 47. And it just made me think about, the fake sales and how people get the misread.
That's where I feel like it's just like, because they're one of ones, and I'm not big into cards, so it's hard for me to know, but it's like people just don't know. And so you just like, I'll put a huge number up there and see what somebody offers me. And the instant you get an offer, you're just like sold. It's just like, it's probably the first offer you get, and it's out the door.
You put them up for 24 hours. As soon as the first offer comes in, you sit on, you look at the timer, and you're like, okay, this offer ends in 12 hours. I'm not going to be stupid and counter back in case they don't accept. And I'll see what else rolls in and let the timer kick down.
Well, it's because
when it gets to like 15 minutes left, you just take the highest bidder.
Well, because it's one of the great things about eBay, right? Like, if people aren't aware, eBay has
don't say nice things about eBay. Don't say
I got to shill. I got to get
mad at you.
Yeah, man, I'm an eBay affiliate. Talk them up.
Hey, listen, I'm an eBay lifer. I'm sorry, Swag. I love me some eBay, man. I'm sorry.
You gotta check out Walmart. I'm just saying, it's a really good network for shopping.
Their prices just keep dropping. But but yeah, like the thing I really like about them is that when somebody sends you an offer, because like whenever I'm watching items, they notify you. They're like, offer is out there, someone submitted an offer for this thing. And so, yeah, with those refractor cards, super refractor cards, if somebody sends an offer, everybody that's following that's going to get notified. And yeah, you might get more offers because that's, you want to wait potentially if it's a really hot item.
But if it's not a one-of-one and other ones are out there, you also got to remember that offers can be retracted. So there's this bit of, but no, it's still very safe to wait. But from time to time, people do retract offers if they end up getting one for less somewhere else.
Yeah. The real stressor is when there's something that you want and you're watching it and you're thinking about submitting an offer, and it shows you that it'll say this item is in someone else's cart. So it's like they've added it to their cart and they're thinking about checking out with it. And if it's something that you want, you're like, son of a bitch.
Let me ask you.
That's why you have a separate eBay account, right? And you just like put all your items in.
check this out, guys. And hopefully I'm not starting something, but let me know if there's holes in this. I thought about something. I don't know if it seems like it would work. So you have an item on eBay. Your friend buys it, pays for it and everything. You could even ship something to their friend so that in regards to eBay, it's a complete transaction, payment gets processed and everything. What if you just refund the order later? Isn't that a recorded, actual, completed sale, but your friend gets his money back ultimately?
So it depends. So at least I don't know for sure on eBay's side, but on like GPA, if something gets refunded and relisted, they pull that sale out and put it down in their like
not relisted though.
Yeah, if it's not relisted, I mean, a 1 of 1, that's the problem though. If
well, not a 1 of 1. Let's just say you're creating a market for something that's out of 10, you own 5 or 6 of them. You just refund the 1.
You could absolutely, yeah, you can absolutely fake stuff. Like I think I saw a post on Instagram recently where somebody was like, I'm not saying this is what people do. And that's where I was getting, talking about like somebody having a card that they got for X number of dollars and they fake sell it to themselves for this higher price. Then they lose the 10%, but now they have this like markup, as a prior sale they can use, especially, and this was in with respect to cards, because the difference, I think the big difference between cards and comics is on the card side, it really does feel like, from watching a lot of Pokemon, sales and that kind of stuff, people are like, they are really, really beholden to like those recent sales, like recent comps. And especially like PSA and like the automatic offers they do now and all this kind of thing. Like, I think it is more ripe for that kind of I don't know, shenanigans or whatever, bullshit or whatever you want to call it, like than comics. And so you do have to be careful with that type of stuff.
Yeah, cards just transact way more quicker than comics do in most cases as well. Like, if I'll watch either you or Swag will do a breakdown on when like news drops and some random key pops off and you like scroll through and it's like, oh yeah, 20 sold today because comicbook.com leaked something and it's like Otani went off last night and like a bajillion transactions happened because of it. Like, it's just like night and day difference.
It's important to point out how much bigger cards is. It's just the card space is than comics. It's magnitudes that are like, I don't know,
the volume. Probably. Yeah, the volume is just insane.
Yeah, even if you just take out the number of people, the transactional nature of cards is completely different than comic books.
Which, speaking of cards, since we're kind of touching on it, maybe Rob, you can kind of hit on this sort of PSA upcharge situation that's kind of going on. Maybe we can get a little bit into that, and we'll kind of carry it back over to comics. But I wanted to talk about that since that was big news this week.
I mean, it's nothing new. It's just Jeff Wilson, the biggest influencer in the sports card space, posted that he was excited to get an upcharge email, and the internet got angry. There's this just people get very upset about PSA's tiered pricing policy and the upcharges that can incur. I know you guys have seen the same thing in the CGC card space, and PSA justifies it 2 ways, by the insurance and also the real key part that everyone glosses over because they focus on the insurance, because PSA has a buyback guarantee, is Nat Turner said on my channel, it's because we add the most value to the product after it's in our case and we want to cut, is essentially what it boils down to. And people just don't like that answer.
Collectors hate that so much.
Yeah, they don't like that answer
so much.
And
yeah,
I mean, their stuff sells for double what the equivalents in other companies do. The thing I do find interesting, though, is CGC upcharges in comics, but CGC does not upcharge for cards.
Oh, they don't?
Because they can't.
Nope. Right? They can't. You nailed it.
Yeah.
They can for comics.
They can upcharge for comics.
Like PSA can for cards, but they can't for for cards because they're not big enough of a player.
It's like it's always the whole
have
thing.
They never done it, or like, because I'm curious about that.
Card.
Okay, I had never heard that before, because they're not the big, they're smaller than PSA, but they're number 2 now. Like, they're a pretty big
but it's number 2 space. But it's not like it's one. There's a wide margin there. And the other thing that you really have to pay attention to, and I've talked about this in videos, the gem rate numbers, Ryan that runs gemrate.com, that does all the pop report tracking, that posts on Instagram, that ranks them. You really got to dig into those numbers, because a lot of them are, I don't want to say artificially inflated, because it's cards that they're actually grading, but like CGC specifically, they get a ton, mostly on both sides of the plate, TCG and sports. They get a lot of repack business where they are grading, like MJ Holdings will go to them for like, I think it's called like Gems of the Game or something. And they'll submit like 150,000 Otani Tops Now cards. And they grade them dirt cheap, way cheaper than what we could grade cards for them for. So it all hits the pop report because they're graded cards. They're real cards and holders. But that drastically inflates their number. So it makes their number look larger than it actually is, if that makes sense. Like, it's not true customer demand that you're seeing them in second place. A lot of it's propped up by repack volume.
Okay, I get it. So, I mean, it's still like number of cards that are out there, but it's just not necessarily. Okay, gotcha.
It's one submitter that's submitting 150,000 cards at once.
I mean, PSA, I've heard people like ship like pallets of cards.
Sure, the PSA is also grading 1.6 million a month, where CGC is grading 300,000.
Yeah.
So when you're saying that one submitter is submitting 100,000 cards in a month, that's 30% of the volume potentially. Versus PSA, that's not happening. Like, their volume is way more evenly distributed. So yes, CGC is probably clearly second in volume. Beckett would probably still give them a run for the money depending on the card for resale value. But if you look up like most modern sports cards that you would actually want to own, there's next to nothing graded in a CGC slab for sports specifically.
Well, like that's one of the things. One of the clips I've sent in like some internal groups before was I watched this guy called Pack Battle that like does like these. He like films his sales of Pokemon cards and that kind of stuff at shows, and he had somebody that brought him CGC cards, and he's like, "Oh no, I only buy PSA. Nobody wants CGC." And I clipped that out because I'm just like, yeah, like it's the same. Like when people ask like why people send comics into CGC, same thing. You know, it's the reverse on the card side, and it's just like it's for resale. It tends to be the most in demand product, and so people are going to want to buy it.
Yeah, and I had a comparison in the video that I did yesterday on the upcharges where the Charizard from 151 in a PSA 10 is like $1,200. In a CGC 10 Gem Mint, it's $600. It's like half. It's literally sells for half. Now in a pristine, because that's one thing with CGC cards, they have a pristine grade, kind of like a CGC 10 versus a CGC 9.8. That sells for a good amount of money. In fact, that'll actually outsell a PSA 10 in some cases. But you have like there's like a 3% chance to get one based off the census numbers. They're impossible.
It doesn't hit the same as a Beckett Black Label, right? It's probably more like Beckett Gold or something.
King of Kings.
Listen, guys. I've been listening to a lot of people online that always tell me to buy the card or the comic and not the number, not the slab. And I've been doing that. And that's why I decided to send all my books into PGX. Okay? Because those books look great. And listen, I'm doing wonderful.
I want to talk to Ryan because I heard Ryan talk about that saying, and I feel like his take on the saying, I feel like you and I define it differently. Right. And I'll let you say your definition because I don't want to butcher it. But when I say and hear buy the book, not the grade, I'm talking about if you have 2 9.8s of the same book, buy the one that actually looks like a 9.8. You know, don't just assume the label. That's what I mean by buy the book. Actually inspect the book. Make sure you're getting something that matches what the label is saying. That's what I take away from buy the book, not the grade. Don't just blindly trust the label. Your take is a little different. What is your take?
No, I mean, I made a video or one of the segments of a video about it. And I said, buy the book, not the grade, to me applies within the same grade. Once you're outside of the same grade, if you have a better presenting low grade or a worse presenting higher grade that are the same price, you buy the higher grade.
I see.
So that it's just like they just are going to sell for more. Those are the facts.
Right. Every single time. It's amazing that people will throw out the advice that is like, yeah, like you shouldn't care about, what the number says and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's true. If it's going to be something that you want for your collection and you just don't care. But if you ever are considering reselling or you're ever thinking about, moving on with the book later on, like it always matters. It just does. Yeah. I'm not saying it's right. It just is.
That are probably the people that own the lower grade copy that presents better.
That's true.
Well, a well-presenting 9.6 is not going to outperform an ugly-looking 9.8, meaning encapsulated as a 9.8.
It won't. It just won't.
It just won't, unless you're an idiot like me and you devalue them by telling your sellers, this 9.8 doesn't look great, so I'm not charging you market for it. But that's a personal choice that I've made. What a reputation out here.
Well, Cards is doing well. Cards is selling. everybody can upcharge, or PSA can upcharge their prices for cards because there's so much volume being sent in for grading. And right now with comic books, it's hard to do the same thing. But there is one comic that is selling a ton right now, and that, of course, is the Mark Spears Monsters blind bags. I just happened to do an Instagram search for blind bags, and look at how many posts there are for this right now. It's crazy how much people are going off on this stuff, to the tune of 350,000 copies being sold out there. And I just kind of wanted to carry you guys through a couple little social things, and then we'll kind of, talk a little bit more about this. But the odds for this particular comic book were as such. And even though I did a pack rip of 3 of them myself, I happened to get 2 of the same cover, which I don't know if that means I'm just extremely lucky, but that happened. And then I thought that there was this interesting post that Ryan, we kind of shared offline. This person had this to say: "Stop overpaying for the Mark Spears blind bags on Whatnot. I'm seeing people pay ridiculous amounts of money for these stupid blind bags, $20 plus. Guys, they're $6 online, for fuck's sake. I saw 2 different people buy 5 blind bags for $50 and $90. You guys are getting absolutely fleeced." And then this Reddit post that said, "Mark Spears, the Monsters and Wolf blind bags gets $350,000 order, or 350,000 copies." This commenter, which is the most upvoted one, said, "I've never heard anybody talk about these comics outside of covers, crowdfunding, sales numbers, or gambling." So let me kind of put it back to the panel here and just sort of say, are these blind bags just all about gambling and money? Is that why people are buying them?
Past the courtyard booth?
Yeah, no, I mean, I in your video, I saw, like you said, you thought this might be like nearing the end of blind bags, and I don't think so.
Now, I said that, I think after I posted and thought about it a little longer, I was like, you know what, maybe I was wrong on that.
Because like I see people, like tons of posts where people are like, I bought 20, I bought 30, I bought 50, and I'm just like, Jesus, like, oh my God. Like, I mean,
did you see the line for courtyard? I'll say it again. And I know that it's that a little bit different, but it's the same concept.
I just think it's interesting because, okay, I've had Mark on the channel, and I'm a big fan of Mark, and I know him personally, and I consider him like a buddy in comics, and so I'm like super happy that he's like successful in doing this product. I mean, he's had a tremendous run the last like year and a half, and it thematically makes sense to do a blind bag. It's Halloween. It works perfectly for his Monsters, brand. So it makes a lot of sense. But like, I don't know. I just can't help but think that even for this, and even with the blind bags in general, like really people just like them because they sell, and
they like them because
I don't know. They either like to gamble, or if you're a dealer or an LCS, you like them because, like, people are buying, like Ryan, you said, like 50, whatever. Like, of course you're going to like the thing that flies off the shelf. But I don't know. I just feel like, are we just in collectible Black Mirror right now? This is just the way it is. And like, I guess, I shouldn't think too hard about it. But like, to me, I just wonder if, like, I guess this is just what it takes to move comic product these days. You just can't sell a store.
Pretty much every booth at New York Comic Con, whether it was comics or not, had blind bags or blind something. Hallmark. I commented in my blog. Hallmark was selling blind box ornaments with a chaser ornament inside of it.
No way.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean,
that's also part of what the
Comic Connect was selling, like blind bags for that, like Addicted book. Like it was like everything. Like everything is blind bags.
Call a book addiction and then sell it in a gambling product.
Yeah. I just think it's, I don't know. I'm setting it up this way, trying to like say, I don't know why this, I know, I understand why. I'm just sort of setting up for the conversation, but like, it's just, I just wonder, like, will there ever be diminishing returns on this? Or is this actually going to be just what every company does from here on out? And maybe just the machine that is social media is too conducive to like the pack rip pull. Like, like anytime someone gets a huge hit, like it's just so shareable, so that like everybody is just like sees that dopamine and wants to replicate that. And that's why it's like so addictive, like just not only the chase, but the fact that you can share the chase with everyone else. I just wonder if we're going to keep doing it. But then I also wonder, like, yes, it's been successful in comic books, but to me, it feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect where, at least in cards, like it seems like it's more obvious what the grand prizes are for a lot of the boxes and the pack rips. But in comic books, it doesn't feel as clear to me as like, what is like the chase one? Like, for instance, we had the Whatnot 24 packs, if you guys remember that one from last year. And it's like, I still have one. I'm like, I don't know like what the grand prize in that pack is. Like, does anyone know? And is anyone interested in it? And will bags or packs be able to sustain like they do in cards? Because it doesn't feel like there's a clear chase.
I don't think comics, the pulls on comics will be valuable long term. I think it's unlikely. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. I think it's, you know, for me, like anything that's getting people into it is a positive, but within reason, I guess. Like if you're, you know, spending your money that you can't afford on blind bags, then maybe that's a problem. But like cards, people, like I think, like you said, like when you were opening those blind bags on your channel, I wouldn't have known if you got the hit, you know, whereas like with cards or with Pokemon, that like I would, like it's very obvious. You're like, oh, it's the shiny one, you know, whereas like with yours, like even you got a foil and it's still not really the hit, you know, and so I don't know, I think it's a lot harder with comics, and I don't know if they're as good for like the little clips, you know, like when you've got cards and you can kind of like flip through things and it's like hiding in the back. I don't think it's as good of a, you know, like a social media type post that you can use it for. But I mean, it's hard for me to say for sure, because I'm definitely not the target market for blind bags.
Kind of with you. I don't. Yeah, who knows? Like maybe they'll continue, or maybe these will be still valuable 10 years from now. But like, yeah, I'm kind of with you. There's something about it that's just like not quite right. Like whether it's the amount of cards that you have to flip through to build the anticipation to like see, oh, here's the chase card, and everyone kind of knows, like, you know, like in Magic when you open a pack, it's like there's a bunch of cards and then there's a land card, and then after the land card it's like the hits, and so like you kind of, it has this rhythm to it that like you kind of know, like, oh, here's the chance to pull the card and it's peeking out. But in the comic blind bags, if there's just one, like you just, I don't know, there's no anticipation. There's no foreplay here. We need the foreplay.
Now, granted, if Courtyard had something where I could rewatch like people opening hits on that, I'd watch that. Like I mean, like I watch people open Pokemon cards all the time. So note to Courtyard, maybe you know, maybe they set something up where you can like turn on your camera every time that you film or you're pulling a hit on that, and you know you can post it or something like that. Maybe they could do something like that, and I would absolutely watch those, and people would definitely share that.
Someone succumb to depression of, oh, the next one is going to be the one that has it.
That's half the fun, right?
And we max out this other credit card chasing it.
I mean, that's like I watched like Poker Rev open cards, and like I've watched him open just like he'll open like pack after pack after pack, and if he's not getting something, you're just like, oh my god, like you just see the sadness like come onto his face. But yeah, I mean that's half the fun, like, you know, eventually, because that's how you get the, you know, you get the rush of watching it with someone else without you having to spend the money to buy
Manu
it.
has his own live stream going on down in the corner. Like he's on a different.
He does.
No. Someone has to communicate with our friends in chat. You guys carry on about blind bags and making sure that we.
No, you don't. How can they get the ungraded truth if you're not being present with the rest of the people on the panel? You know. Because there's gonna be a test.
He's down there laughing, holding things up to the camera. He's got his like whole little show going on.
I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, someone's giving me shit about smiling too much. It's making me smile more. I don't know what the fuck to do.
By the way, guys, as a very serious show and the #1 collectible show in all of YouTube and podcasts in the universe, we are open to sponsorships here. And I promise you that if you sponsor the channel and you sponsor the show, we will clean up Manu. I will get him nice and corporate for you. Okay. We're going to get 99 newsstand corporate edition.
Some of that Courtyard IO money. We'll talk to Son out there.
Did you hit the red button, Swag, at New York Comic Con? Did you wait in line and hit the big red button?
I did not wait in line to hit the big red button. I was tempted, but I don't really do lines.
Then why did you go to New York Comic Con?
I love that. I'm with Walmart. I don't do lines, guys.
That's a good point. Actually, you know what the funny thing Comic Cons in general is I don't do anything there because I'm unwilling to wait in any line. So maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's why they're getting stale to me.
How come no one asks my opinion on blind bags?
Because you had a whole third show going on down in the corner.
Because everyone knows
Manu,
I stand on blind bags.
Manu, can you enlighten the audience for us your stance on blind bags so we have it for the record here?
All right, sorry, wasting you. I'm not a big fan. Whatever, it is what it is. I understand why they exist, but it's just gambling to me, and I like knowing what I'm buying. I like seeing what I'm buying. I like buying it. That's all. But someone asked, do I and would I? I mean, sure, I would. RMS, my man, thank you so much. Here's your first corporate funds. I just got a sponsorship. I just got $9.99.
Shout out to our first corporate sponsor, RMS Collects, for the $9.99. Here's your first corporate funds for Manu. There you go. We're gonna use that $10 to get Manu a tie. He's gonna put it on. He's gonna wear a colored shirt next time. We're gonna be buttoned up.
We have to teach him about YouTube. You actually only get about 50% of that. So sorry, you only got.
I'm aware though. Yeah, I'm aware. I thought they only took 30%. Damn, they increased it. But anyway, no. I mean, blind bag's fine. I think everyone should have fun. I think it's fun. It doesn't draw me, but I don't have like any serious opinion on it. I'm not against it. I don't tell people not to do whatever the fuck you want. You know, take accountability if you're going a little too hard. I do happen to think that gamblers are addicted to losing. Like that's the addiction. It's not the addiction of winning. No one wins enough to get addicted to it. You're addicted to losing and chasing the win. It is a problem if you're kind of like weak mentally, but whatever. It's been a thing that people have done forever. It's not new. A mystery pack with the chance to win the lottery is not a fucking novel notion. So whatever.
Cool. Can I ask this? Why is it that the blind bags were such a hit, but the mystery boxes were not?
I mean, mystery boxes were though for a while, like at the start of the comic boom period. Like, what was that? Because I mean, Torpedo did them, and then they started like putting not the best stuff in them, and so they kind of fell off. But then there was that like Spider-Man something. There was another one that that was really popular for like 2 years. But yeah, I think they fell off when it's almost like when the prices of comics got too high that they couldn't get quality books to put in there. And so then they were just like, I feel like they were just putting in kind of like junk, and then people just stopped buying them. Or it was like, oh, you get your value back and that's it. And it's like, who wants that? You know, the whole goal is you want some potential to like get some big hit. You're not just trying to like break even, because you're just breaking even. You just go buy whatever you want in the first place.
Yeah, it's true. It's very, very true. But mystery,
I mean, they kind of get one up by like the Courtyard thing anyway.
I mean, Courtyard's way after,
just a way better version of it.
Courtyard, the ability to sell back immediately, and I think the other ones probably have that too, right? But like
in cards, that is all the digital.
That is the key. Like selling back immediately is the key, because then you're like, I can partially pay for this next one, and you just keep hitting the button and selling them back.
I lose a little less. Let's go again.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. Shout out to Neo. Neo was definitely on Courtyard. He was definitely letting us know about it. And I eventually saw the light, and I do see how crazy it is with Courtyard. I don't know. I'd be curious to know what their comic book base is. Like, obviously, when they released the comic section, like for that week or a couple weeks, it was like a big deal. But, you know, even when we were at New York Comic Con, everyone was hitting the button. It was all for cards. There was no like comics. At least I don't think that there was a section with comics. But I wonder if
one of the chasers
I assumed it was for comics too, because like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Ultimate
I didn't know if at New York
Comic Con CGC was one of the chasers.
Don't be mad at me. Don't mind me. I got a request. I want to show the book. Spawn error. 985. Here it is. Spawn error. Okay.
Once again, Manu in his own show.
I got a request.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Listen. Hold on. Manu's show is getting more corporate sponsorship than the Ungraded Truth show itself. Shout out to the Real McCoy Collector, $4.99. Manu is not cooler than the Real McCoy Collector.
He is
Let it be known.
He is right. I am trying to be as cool as my man Donnie. Donnie, thank you, my man. Much appreciated. Sorry, guys. The Spawn error is, it's gone already. It's back, but it's sold already. We'll talk about it later.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
blind bags, mystery boxes, whatever the case is, courtyard, much more to come. I'm sure that, being that the Ungraded Truth, like I already said, is the #1 show in all of YouTube, we will certainly have further episodes where I'm sure those will be one of the main topics at hand. But until then, we have to talk about one of our actual main topics for this show, which I think it's about time that we jump into original art and talk Batman 423.
And we just lost all the viewers. All the viewers are gone.
Everybody tuned out now that the blind bag section of the show is over. It's not over, guys. We might talk blind bags more later on. Okay. Like maybe I have an extra one that I'll do live with you guys, maybe. But anyways, let's talk about this original art right here. Todd McFarlane, Batman 423, $781,250. This was from the Keith Fromm collection that actually just went up on Heritage just yesterday, was actually when this cover sold. And a lot of conversation around it. On the one hand, this is the most expensive Todd McFarlane piece that has ever sold. It is in the top 10 original comic art sales of all time. And yet there was still a lot of conversation, maybe even disappointment, that this didn't hit $1 million. Ryan, let me start with you here because you had that social media post and you're a SpongeBob/original art influencer. So what did you think about this particular sale? And do you think it overperformed, underperformed, or did exactly like it should have?
So I actually had a video I put out earlier today there I talked about some of these sales, and this was one of them. And so I had said I thought it would absolutely break $500,000, and that was before it had started bidding, because it broke $500,000 in the first day. And then I thought it would have a potential of breaking $1 million, but I thought it would struggle to get there. I didn't think it was guaranteed it was going to go that high. So to me, this price is more or less what I would expect. I think what really gave people these like crazy expectations on it was once they all started looking at it after that first day, because it jumped to 600 and whatever thousand on the first day. And then you're just like, man, what is this thing going to do? But it's just that I think most of the bidding got taken care of in that first day, which sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, a lot of the items that sold in that auction had big jumps in the live. Like there was one that went up. It was one of the, I think the Mac Raboy covers. It was at like 23,000 before the live bidding started, and it closed at 275,000. Whereas like this one was at like 620,000 and closed at 780. And so I think, to me, it sold about what I would expect. I think that the early bidding threw off expectations. Now, one of the things I mentioned in my video, and the reason why I think that the McFarlane stuff does have kind of a ceiling potentially to it in the near term, is that you don't, well, I'm not going to even say we don't know. I think it's fairly well known that most of the McFarlane art exists. He may own most of it, but I think he actually owns a lot of that art that's out there. And eventually he may decide to sell it. And so if you've got this, somebody who has been creating comics for almost 40 years and has who knows how many pages, who knows how many covers. And so like, even though there's a huge demand for this artist, like there's gotta be like a cap on the money that's out there to buy it. And so an individual piece of his going for 780,000 to me is significant regardless, because if every other cover he's ever done is also a potential item that comes up for sale, and he's had a lot of iconic covers, then, it's going to be competing at some point down the line. And especially too with pages, like how many Spider-Man issues did he do? And you have one Spider-Man page that sells for 200 grand. It's like at some point, like when all those start trickling out, you start having what happened with, or what's happening right now with Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird work with TMNT. They kept everything. And we are seeing that stuff trickle out on places like Heritage. And so like, you have to look at like how much volume is really out there compared to other stuff where it's like, you don't even know if half the stuff even exists that was from the 70s or the 60s, from other titles, but we know or have a pretty good idea that a lot of the McFarlane stuff does exist. It just hasn't hit the market before.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Manu, as the resident McFarlane fanboy here?
I mean, I think just immediately, I just want to say it sold for a lot. Like that's really cool. But early on, when it was first discovered that this was coming to market, my original estimation was 750,000. But I'll add to that. But it was like a minimum of 750,000, and I wouldn't have been surprised if it did 1 million. And then, of course, as the excitement grew and the auction actually went live, and all the excitement the first day, well, then I really bought into the idea of 1 million plus, and I was rooting for it. Like myself, as well as like the larger community, we all wanted it to, from at least the people that I communicate with, we all wanted it to see it do well over 1 million because it was exciting to us. But the reason that I thought 750 was my first guess is because 500,000 to me was the foundation. I arrived at that idea possibly a little differently than Ryan did, but the same idea, because the ASM 311 page in the previous big heritage sale, which is the McFarlane cover with Mysterio, that sold for like 450 or 480,000, right? So in my mind, I just call that 500K. That's the floor. This is way more popular, way more desirable than that. So there's no way this underperforms 500. So 500 is essentially a starting bid. And I thought, well, it's really, and it could go anywhere, but I couldn't imagine it being less than 750,000. So that was my initial guess. But as the excitement built up, I thought, wow, this thing can really do 1.5, and I'm here for it. I want to see it happen. But ultimately, it sold for a lot. It is a record. And I think it's still impressive, and it is something to celebrate. We just had sort of high hopes as the excitement grew. But I also spoke to some of the people that bid on day one, and they were like, it's going to slow down a bit. We were having a good time. Yeah, we're into it. We want the piece. But I knew a couple of people that were throwing hefty bids in, and they did tell me, they said, it's not going to be like this every single day. But I did think on the last day that we were going to see some heavy action. But apparently, there weren't two people willing to fight that hard for it. But this still is a very impressive number, of course.
And there's a comment in the chat too. Like that's one of the other things. Like when you think of what certain artists are known for, when you've got books that sell anything, like he's known for Spider-Man and Spawn. He's not really known for Batman. And so like that's what, like the Spider-Man stuff, like that is always going to, and Spider-Man's just bigger. The Spider-Man stuff is always going to be the most in demand, probably, until the Spawn work starts coming out. Like, I don't know, Spawn may I know there's some very big Spawn collectors out there, so that may, have some big numbers in it too. But I think Spider-Man is just going to be tough to beat. It's hard to use that. It's like you try to use comparables, but it is difficult to compare to something like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I do think that, even in my video, I made mention of like, there was a lot of conversation of this hitting 1 million. But at the same time, like Manu, you already said, there's precedent that, his floor was more around 500. And like you guys have been already kind of mentioning, and I've heard from a lot of like original art collectors and other, offline chat groups that I've been in, people saying it's like, yeah, like the McFarlane fans they like this page, this work is iconic, but if you're going to drop this type of money, like you would much rather have an ASM, cover, or you would maybe want to have, one of the iconic Spawn covers, because like you guys said, that's definitely more of his, what he's known for. So
and one of the comments in the chat there, they said, imagine the Spider-Man 1 cover. The Spider-Man 1 cover has sold. It sold like 12 years ago, and I think it was 350,000 or 400,000 or something.
So actually, in my New York original art panel, shout out to Zatari and Snicket, who were a part of that panel. We actually had one of the Seamus brothers on that panel, and actually it was the Seamus brothers' father that owned a lot of the Todd McFarlane pieces, and those were the ones that sold in 2012. So that was like his particular auction. So a lot of the McFarlane pieces are out there, like, going back to what you were saying, Ryan, where there's a lot of them. Like the one thing that is interesting about them coming to market is that he did end up selling a lot of his ASM work. So they do kind of belong to like various collectors that are out there. And it's not like Todd McFarlane, if he wakes up one day and is like kind of bored, he's just going to like have like a shotgun, like, oh, here's my Todd McFarlane sale on Heritage. And there'll be like 50 covers that come out. So like, it won't be quite like that. Although that could happen with Spawn, because like some people have been saying in the chat, he owns the majority of his Spawn stuff. So that might be something we see. But, back to the Spider-Man thing, a lot of collectors have gobbled it. It's in various corners of the art collecting world. So I still think that there will be a big premium on that. And not to mention, I think Todd's got another like 30 years of being an icon. Like,
Yeah.
I really feel like every year he is the biggest celebrity at New York and San Diego. Like, even this year at New York, like the excitement that goes around Todd McFarlane is even bigger than Marvel and DC, like themselves. And so I really do think that he's that guy. He's that artist that's put him alongside the Bernie Wrightsons and the Barry Windsor Smiths and the not quite Frank Frazetta, but let's just kind of say that those are the top original artists that people like to collect. And I think he's definitely in there. So, it'll be cool to see. I mean, still a ridiculously big number. But dare I say, I think that it was maybe like a good buy, like it's kind of like a good buy.
I think it is a reasonable buy. Like, I mean, I wouldn't expect it to, if it was sold again tomorrow, to sell for less. I mean, I don't think that. And now granted, you've got your premium and stuff that goes with that. So you're not going to, unless you sell it privately, you're going to take a hit. But yeah, no, I do think it was reasonable.
What do we think the ASM one would go for if it came to market?
The ASM one or Spider-Man one?
I'm sorry, Spider-Man one.
I saw a comment that said it has
more than this.
Now. Yeah, more than
like that easily clears $1 million, right?
Easily, in my opinion, easily.
Yeah, I would think something like 1.5 to 2, maybe more. Like I think if the ASM 300, there was somebody in one of my comments that said they thought the ASM 300 would sell for 5. I think that's bananas. I think the ASM 300 would probably do 1.5 to 2. The Spider-Man 1 might do more. The problem with the ASM 300 is it's almost no art. It has an even worse problem than what the people were complaining about with the 423, because it's like mostly paste ups. It's like you have Spider-Man in the middle, and then it's almost all paste ups on the rest of the cover. And so I think that's one of the things that hurts it. But I think Spider-Man 1 might put the ASM 300, to the test. Like, it may sell for more.
Hulk 340 would be another good one. Someone comments that. And
Nick Barucci, what's going on, my man?
Shout out to Nick and Dynamite. The Hulk 340 page, it definitely is. There is a collector that does own it, on his Comic Art Fans. It's out there. It does have a little bit of that problem where it doesn't have the trade dress on it. It's just the Wolverine with the claws. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's only kind of like half of a page of art. You know what I mean? And I don't know at the end of the day if that aesthetic matters that much. I mean, I would imagine it probably does to a degree, but
well, for the 340,
it's something to consider.
The 340 though, they would just make those. I mean, that's where most of them are. Most of them are made after the fact. They aren't from production.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
A lot of the paste ups are like somebody had made for it that you see out there. Like they have them like the I think like that Hit 5.
The trade
yeah,
dresses.
like the trade dress and stuff. Like somebody has that made afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have an original cover over here, and the trade dress and everything else is an acetate sheet on the front. It lays on top of the actual inks and pencils.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Zatari says here, I mean, under his handle Snikt, which is their new art website, SNIKT, the Wolverine sound. It's just a comment that says ASM 300 has been offered over 3 million privately. I mean, for what it's worth, there's that comment, and I might be aware of that as well. So, like,
yeah, the private sales though, I've seen a lot of numbers where people throw out private number sales, and then the book goes public, and it does not hit those numbers. It's like, so I tend to trust public sale numbers a little more.
From Comic Investments.
I mean, yeah, that's a perfect example. Multiple times.
Yeah.
And so, but I would, I don't know. I take private sale offer numbers with a grain of salt personally.
ASM 316 would be another monster one.
Oh my gosh, would it? That
one would definitely be monster. Oh. Somebody definitely owns that one as well. I believe that one sold in 2012 from that same grouping. Yeah, I think so.
You know what else? Again, family sold the Wizard 1 cover for like $32,000. The Todd McFarlane.
That would be huge as well. Actually, it's important to point that out. And I feel like that wasn't emphasized enough with a lot of the conversation with this. But this particular piece was bought on Heritage, 10 years ago or 13 years ago in 2012 for 71K. So I mean,
Yeah.
he did have a 10x. If you crunch the numbers and you do the math, that's a 20% return on your money. So there you go. Original art Batman 423 beating the S&P 500. Shout out to original art.
I don't follow the OA stuff at all. Is there some crazy folks out there that have like a spreadsheet that tracks like which ones have come to market, which ones have never been seen, like who owns which ones?
I mean, there might be, but
yes.
they probably aren't sharing it.
Yeah.
Zatari probably has the spreadsheet.
Yeah. Zatari in the chat does. There's definitely, one thing that's really interesting about art, and part of what makes it so fun as well, is because it's even more opaque than collectibles as they are already. Like there's more networking than there is required in cards or comics. There's a lot of handshakes and backdoor stuff, and you have to like find the one piece, and you have to ask somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody if they happen to know if the thing even exists, and so that's part of the hunt as well. So I'm sure that there's those people that have those types of resources, but they do not give up that stuff lightly. Like the art collectors that I've talked to and made friends with are very, very private. They're very guarded, which I think is just maybe part of the culture that surrounds it. But it's very fun for that reason. Well, all right, boys. Well, we talked about Todd McFarlane. We talked about original art. I feel like, one thing that we didn't kind of skip over, and maybe I am just a corporate shill. Maybe I think that this is a big deal and it's really not. But can we just humor me for a second and talk about Shortbox partnering with Walmart for their marketplace? I don't know if you guys in the chat saw the story. I talked about it in my New York Comic Con video, but Shortbox, shout out to Gene, is the guy the CEO who started the Shortbox app, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the second biggest comic selling platform next to eBay. I think that's actually true. Yeah, I think that's actually true. Which again,
compared to my comic shop and stuff.
I think so. That's what they say. So I don't know if that's true or not, but there's not that much competition, but they apparently are. But basically they did a deal with Walmart basically trying to get into the, eBay, whatnot space. Obviously they're the biggest retailer in the world and they want some of that aftermarket activity. And they made a handshake sort of, or collaboration deal, whatever, with Shortbox, where basically Shortbox is taking all of their listings, all of their network of dealers, everything that they have, and just putting it on to the Walmart retail online shop. So it's going to be powered by Shortbox, the Walmart marketplace. And maybe this is a big deal. Maybe it's not, but Walmart has a massive, massive audience. And I do wonder if that is going to do anything for comic book sales, as far as like the vintage market is concerned. All of a sudden you have all these dealers that have all their inventory listed on Shortbox, and it's just going to be shown to however many shoppers are on the Walmart network. Could it be a big thing for comic books, or is this sort of like not that exciting news? Most people buy comic books on eBay. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, my take is, and I think you've mentioned this maybe in either your interview or when you've talked about it, is it doesn't have to be like some huge percentage of Walmart's customer base. Right. If it's 0.1%, it could move the market for comics. It's like that's how you have to look at it. It's like if they have, because I think you said something like they have like 150 million people or something like that use their site. Like if you get 100,000 of those people, like that's a big new customer base that maybe is getting exposed to comics. I mean, to me, that's how I look at it. It's like, I'm not looking at like, oh yeah, like every person that's going to Walmart's site is going to be going and buying comics. But if you get like just every once in a while, one in 1,000 or 1 in 100 people click over there, that can have a big cascading effect.
I agree with that. I don't know if the kind of casual consumer who shops on Walmart Live is like going to be ready to buy like an obscure golden age, mega grail. on the platform. But like, I have to assume that a lot of those people who might be tangentially interested in comic books, like, will pick up those extra like ASM 300s or those extra, Batman Adventure 12s, or like these types of comic books that, could just see more frequency of sales on that platform. I don't know. What do you guys think? Neo or Manu? Any thoughts on this?
I think if anything, it would impact the lower end stuff. Like we were just talking about Spider-Man 1, like stuff like that, like Jim Lee X-Men 1, like sub $100, $150 books that transact a lot, that aren't very expensive, that someone that is casual or might FOMO into it, or if grandma's on there looking for a Spider-Man for their kid.
That's what I was thinking.
Or whatever.
Yep. Somebody looking for a gift.
Yes.
The $500 plus stuff.
Yep.
I think it would have a bigger impact on the $200 and under stuff. And they've been dabbling with cards for a while, and I don't know that it's seen some big major impact on the card side of things. But it's also, cards is a way bigger marketplace anyway, so it might be harder to see their effect, whereas comic books is a little bit more niche. So they could potentially have, just by existing, a larger impact. But my thought is that it would impact that lower end stuff, the sub $200 stuff, more than anything else.
Did Shortbox happen to say if they're going to like give any numbers about like how many sales end up going through Walmart eventually? Like, I don't know if that's actually when that actually becomes available, or if it is already, but I was just curious if they're going to give us any type of metrics on like, oh yeah, we actually sold 1,000 books last month or 500 books last month through Walmart's online platform.
I'm sure that they will have those numbers, and I'd be interested to ask Gene if he'd be willing to share them. But yeah, maybe something to look into. What do you think, Manu?
I haven't thought about it too much. Like I've thought about it on the surface, but I haven't really done like some analysis in my mind. The first thing that I think about is, this is awesome for Shortbox. So I want to congratulate Gene and the team, because being acknowledged by such a large company that is more than happy to establish that partnership and represent that brand, and vice versa. I just think that's like an incredible thing to have accomplished for Gene, team, and Shortbox. So that part of it, I'm really excited about. Like from the perspective of someone that's running a company that probably has certain objectives that they want to, there's probably a goal for them, right? And this gets them closer to that goal. That excites me. Like the entrepreneurial spirit on it is really great. In terms of having given a lot of thought to what sort of consumer is going to be on Walmart, I haven't really thought about it, because me personally, I don't necessarily see myself shopping there. I'm not a casual buyer. I take the things that I buy super seriously. I want to know that I have a recourse if something goes wrong, which I think Walmart honors, like returns, no questions asked, I think. So maybe that's, someone in the chat said that too, like returns are going to get messy real quick. Like, could you imagine how many people just buy something and be like, this is what I bought back, along with whatever basketball and boxer briefs they bought from Walmart and that, that shopping cart visit. I don't know. It doesn't make a clean connection for me as a marketplace that I am going to enjoy looking for stuff on, but I also already do not have that connection with Walmart. So I'm already not there. Maybe there's a chance this brings me there, maybe for some of the items that are more readily available, and I'm not so concerned about the finer points about them, the finer details. But I don't see myself buying a $10,000 Mark Jewelers 9.8 on Walmart. That's just, I want a different sort of experience, a more boutique experience, a more personalized experience when I buy things that are special to me.
Kind of round out this conversation about my thoughts on it. I'm always very interested in sort of these second and third order effects of like how these things kind of play out. Like you guys already said, I think that having a larger distribution can only be a good thing, even if they only sell 100 comic books on Walmart. If you can get one person who buys a comic book there to all of a sudden go like, oh, comic book collecting's pretty cool, and then they like decide to start to go down the rabbit hole and check out a live stream like the Ungraded Truth and learn more about comic books, and then they become that boutique shopper. You at least start to onboard some people, and I think that that's kind of the biggest hurdle with a lot of comic book stuff. And Cards has done a really good job embracing a lot of the newness and like the new kind of tech world and I mean, I know it's a dirty word, we're making jokes about it, but like this is true. Like the corporate side of like the hobby, they've embraced a lot of these like large companies and this whole aspect to it. And comic books has really been allergic to that for a long time. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in comic books that doesn't like that stuff coming into their hobby, and I understand that perspective. But if you want the hobby to grow, if you want it to get bigger, you're gonna have to make it easier for people that would never get involved in it. It takes a lot to get someone to go to a comic book store for the very first time if they don't have anyone to bring them. And if they can do it casually, and this is also a testament to grading as its importance to the online space, like, because you can't sell raw vintage, you have to sell it graded to some degree. So I don't know. I think it could be a big thing for the collectible market in general. And maybe we'll get some people that'll go from Spider-Man ones into collecting Joe Palooka, from then on out. So there you go.
I mean, that's one of the, I think, and you've touched on this before. I think that's one of the problems with on the comic side. It's how they market, because like with cards, you see like the players like collecting cards and showing their own cards and all that kind of stuff. With comics, like there are a lot of celebrities that actually buy and collect comics. Like Marvel or DC should be like going to them and like getting them to like talk about what they have or like show their stuff or whatever, like Nicolas Cage or Eminem or whoever, like, like use those big names out there to try to push their product, because they just don't. And I don't know why they don't. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm so with you on that. Like, how is it that Marvel is now putting on their YouTube channel like the collection of Nicolas Cage's, or like a room tour with him? It just feels obvious to me that they should be doing that. But again, we're not their marketing department, and I'm sure that they have their reasons, and I'm sure that as they count their cash with all their blind bags, they're not worried about all those other things.
But if they would like to sponsor the Ungraded Truth for ideas on,
if they would like to,
the consulting branch.
I know some incredible content creators that can help get the word out. They have a wonderful platform called the Ungraded Truth that is the #1 show in all of collectibles. But speaking of that show and being #1, we have to wrap it up because we have to get ready for show #2. Gentlemen, this was a wonderful show. I mean, we're going to kind of wind it down. We're not quite going away yet, but I want to give a shout out to everybody who is watching this. This is a new format, a new podcast show that we're bouncing around. We chose to do it Saturday because we were all available tonight, but maybe it's not going to be Saturday. Maybe it's going to be another night. Maybe we're going to rebrand the whole thing. Do we even like the title? I don't know. I keep saying it, but I don't know if it's hitting. Manu likes it.
Let's ask the chat. Chat, the Ungraded Truth. Do you guys like that name? Simple question. Let's see what they say. I do like it.
I do kind of like it too. But the logo is work in progress. Everything's work in progress. We got the black and white space floating in the background as a work in progress. Okay, it's looking like the Twilight Zone up in here, but maybe it is that. I don't know. Okay, we're just figuring it out as we go. But gentlemen, it was a great show. I did want to say one more thing because I posted this on Instagram, but I didn't talk about this on YouTube enough. But guys, New York Comic Con. I mean, check out your boy.
Oh man,
with the Dark Hawk 1 cover. I mean, guys, did you see this? Did you see the greatest original art piece ever created? This would sell for triple Batman 423. Actually, I hope it does.
Without question.
Yeah. But the Dark Hawk 1 cover was in the page, in the flesh, in the ink, at our original art panel. I got to hang out and take a picture with it.
This is the first time you've seen it in person?
It is the first time I saw it in person, and hopefully it won't be the last time.
Uh-oh.
I see it in person.
Swag, I said in the comment section of that post, I don't remember the exact words, but I said, like, this is already yours, right? The universe has to, put it in your possession still or something of that sort. I believe that, bro. Like, that piece is going to be yours. Yes, it might be expensive. Who knows? Maybe it's gifted to you. Well, I don't know, right? But, it's an incredible piece, and I think one day it does become yours. It should, at least. And I love that it was with you, and I love that everyone supported that post so well because it was great.
Maybe I should just go full leverage for a meme. behind my head. I think that would be a smart decision. But you know what? I won't have to worry about that because we're going to have so many sponsors on the Ungraded Truth that it's going to be able to pay for the Dark Hawk 1 cover. But gentlemen,
look at the bright side. If you buy it for your office in the background, then that's a potential tax write-off, right?
Business expense.
We are 100. Yeah, we are 100% making that a business expense. Okay, we got to write off the Manu live stream super chats somehow. All right, folks. Well, it was a great show. Thank you all so much for hanging out this evening. If you guys want to stay up to date with things that Rob, Ryan, and Manu got going on, I put links to all their socials in the description down below. So go give them a follow. I don't know when this show's going to happen again, but it's going to happen again. Okay, we're going to have episode number 2 coming up, and maybe we'll make some improvements on it. Shout out to Brian McClay, who on the Beyond Wednesday channel is having a show right after us. I'd like to throw all the viewers over to his channel, so go check him out in the description below. His show starts at 7 o'clock. But gentlemen, anything else to leave the people with before we wrap up?
I don't know. Wasn't ready for this.
Say something smart. Say something smart.
Oh God! Come check out me in this. The gas pipe next to me at some point.
Is that what that is? I've wondered for 6
yes.
years. What?
Yes, it is a gas pipe that I try to disguise with a hat.
Brian,
it can't go anywhere, so that is why it is always in my videos.
Ryan, this is just this to that point. We need to get you out of your basement to an actual Comic-Con to where we can film real footage of you, so that next time we do the title sequence, we can have you not vlogging in your car.
I thought about going up to Baltimore, but I didn't.
What about, can we get you to, I forget where you live. Can we get you to Heroes Con next year?
Baltimore is a lot closer, and I did not make that trip. Okay. So it's fairly unlikely, but I don't know. Maybe you'll convince me one of these times to get.
When you go to OAX, how about OAX, Florida?
Man, I don't know. It's just maybe.
Maybe.
People got to ask me. Like, I like my basement.
Swag. People said that you put bad links in your description. Are you trying to sandbag our socials?
Unacceptable.
I will fix it after the show. Shout out to Derek, who puts the right links in the description. I'll fix it after this. My bad, guys. My bad.
Thank you, Derek. Love you. Swag, I wanted to say thank you. Oh, no, please.
Go.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you. I had a great time. I want to thank everybody that was here with us. And I definitely look forward to the next one. I think you are predicting the future by calling this the #1 show in all comic books. I think it has that potential. And
it's
I think
already
we
there.
should see to it.
Exactly.
I think we should. Exactly. There's nothing to see to. It's been seen. And also, we're coming back. When are we? 2 weeks or 1 week? Something.
We don't know.
Will be back. This is super fun.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Love you all. Thank you very much. Send Swag a bunch of controversial questions, and we'll use profanity on the next episode more than necessary.
All right. Until then, catch you on the next one, guys. Later. Detective Comics set a record for 1.8 million. Nobody really cares.
Who are annoyed that people are asking them questions, is this book bad? That question didn't exist a year ago.
Somebody's submitting like 25 vintage books and getting 15 9.9s.
We always think, how can it ever get crazier? And then it always does.